Hey y'all, welcome back or welcome to my channel. My name is Sierra and I post videos on this channel every single Friday. I post Christian booktube content, so if you're into that kind of thing, I highly recommend pressing subscribe. I have debated doing this video for a couple of days now just because I don't like talking negatively on my channel, and this whole video isn't going to be negative. But I do know that this is a brand new book by a very popular author, and a couple of people have asked me my thoughts on this book because they know I have it. I got this in a haul, I guess it was a couple months ago now. Oh, wow. I think that was in April. And I was going to do a reading vlog for Miriam's song, but I ended up not because I traveled and I read most of this book on a plane, and when I was watching back some of the footage, I just realized I'd have to subtitle a lot of it, and this book didn't live up to my expectations, so I just didn't want to put all the time into editing all of it, so I just thought I'd do a short little sit-down video explaining why this book isn't my favorite biblical fiction ever. So Miriam's song is by Jill Eileen Smith, and it follows Miriam's life, Miriam, the sister of Moses and Aaron, from the time she is 5 years old right through just when they're about to send the spies into the promised land, and then it ends like on that promise of the Israelites going into the promised land after all that time. My biggest, I think, thing against this book is it follows the Bible to a fault. I love it when books follow the Bible and like it's very clear that that was the main inspiration, and like there obviously was outside research done and like they figured out their own timeline, because the Bible doesn't give us a perfect one with dates. But this book followed it to a fault because it lacked the necessary structure of a plot and just relied on what we know about Miriam from the Bible, which unfortunately isn't enough. And we do get some chapters with perspectives from Moses and his wife Zipporah, and that was quite interesting. I did really like that. The ones from Moses' perspective were better written, in my opinion, just because we know so much more about Moses. Like, he literally wrote the first 5 books of the Bible. I won't say like God uses everyone, but there's more emphasis put on how God used Moses in the Bible than Miriam. And so I just think that there wasn't enough creative liberty taken with this book, and the author, Jill Eileen Smith, just stuck a little too much to the Bible and didn't venture into what if Miriam was feeling this, and what could her doubts be. The spiritual development of Miriam was very lacking, in my opinion. And if it's going to be biblical fiction, I am expecting the character to go from, like, not no faith, but just, having some doubts or questions, some spiritual things that they need to work out, and then by the end of the book, they've come to a resolution with God, and, it's kind of come, not full circle, but like, to the point where they can look back and realize how they were wrong and how God is always right. I didn't really get that with this book. There were some great moments that I thought like, oh, maybe it's going to take off the ground here, but it didn't. It was kind of stiff in the spiritual development and character development, and that just, it didn't really sit right with me the way that part of the book was written. There was a point in this book when I stopped and looked at how much I'd read and kind of wondered what had even happened in those past like 250 pages. I just really wasn't sure. And I thought like, okay, well, yeah, that did happen. It moved rather quickly, like the pace was very fast, but the way it was written, it didn't feel fast. Does that make sense? I think it does. Like, because it was very jumpy and there was no progression of character, there was only the progression of the story that I already knew what was going to happen because, you know, I've heard the story of the Israelites leaving Egypt and going into the wilderness in the 40 years. You know, I've heard that a million times. I've read other books from characters who are going through that. And because I knew what to expect, it just felt stiff and slow and not as well written as it could be. Some things that I do like about this book, because I do like some things about this book, is that it does give a glimpse into what the mind of a leader of Israel, a female leader of Israel during that time could be. If you think about it, just culture, even Hebrew culture, wasn't very conducive to allow women to lead like we can today. And just reading some of, you know, the imagined thoughts of Miriam that Jill Eileen Smith wrote in here were honestly enlightening, and they did make me think a little bit. And then we also get Moses's perspective a little bit, and we learn some of the basis of what could have been his fear to lead and why he relied on Aaron to speak for him a lot. And that was just very cool. I did like that part of it. I also did like that there was an underlying theme. It wasn't clearly written, but I could glean it, that God's timing is perfect. And it is a cliche, like you hear it all over in the church, you hear it, you know, everywhere in Christian circles, you know, God's timing is perfect. But it's so true, and I did like how this book didn't highlight it, but it certainly did, like, that was the message. And to me it was clear because I was looking for a message. So that there was a message, and that's always good to walk away knowing, like, okay, there was something that the author wanted me to learn from it. So some pros and cons. So overall, I would give Miriam's song 3 stars. Writing style was just a bit too stiff and not as easy for me. And I've already talked about some of the pros and cons. And it's an okay book. I'm not sure if I'd be so inclined to buy some of her other books. I know I've heard people rave about them, like, oh, this is the best biblical fiction I have ever read. And I just don't know after this book. If you've read some of her others and you think they're really good, let me know. This could have just been like an off book. Do authors have off books? I'm sure they do. And so I haven't really gotten the full taste of her writing style and what she likes to put out. But anyway, yeah, so that's it overall. If you have read Miriam's song or were thinking about it, let me know your thoughts, if they've changed, if I've enlightened you. I probably haven't. But thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, go ahead and give it a like. And if you want to see more content like this, go ahead and subscribe. And I will see you next week for whatever video that is. Until then, bye!